All right, everybody, welcome to the Real Estate 360 podcast. As always, we got fire content for you. We've got great information, and today we're going to be speaking with Mr. Jason Williford. He's an extraordinary speaker, coach, real estate investor. He also works with agents. He's been doing it for a while. He's been in business over 20 years. I'll get into that in a second. But we're going to talk today about processes, strategies, all the mindset, all the things that you need to really have in place to find success as a real estate investor, as an agent, as a business person, as a whole, right? Those are the things we're going to talk about right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is your man, Jason Myles, and allow me to introduce you to the one and the only Mr. Jason Williford. How you doing today, man?
Man, I am doing wonderful. As I like to say, if I was doing any better, I would be twins. There'd be two of me sitting here.
I like it. Listen, man, I was, we're Instagram friends, Facebook friends, and we've communicated a little bit there, and we came together to do this podcast. So, I was looking into who you were and what you did long before we had actually had our conversation. Because
ditto.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
knew who you were before you reached out.
Absolutely. We're in that space, so we have to know. And I just found it great. I mean, listen, you have done great things. I mean, you've been on Fox, NBC, ABC, Forbes. You've been in Investor Business Daily, or IBD as we call it, MSNBC, and so many more things. You've got an Amazon #1 best-selling book right now called the Ultimate Real Estate Machine. These things are powerful, man. I mean, that's everybody doesn't get a chance to do that kind of stuff. I mean, what is it that you did to get you into the places that you've gotten so far?
Yeah, and for clarity on that, just to be honest with everyone, if you're looking at my book landing page, my co-author of the book is Jay Abraham. Now he's known as the $30 billion man. He's consulted over 10,000 clients in over 400 industries. It may even be close to 1,000 when you put in the micro industries, but at least over 400 industries. So he is the one that's actually been in Entrepreneur and Forbes and all kind of other publications. I have been seen on those major networks, and you being in Metro Atlanta, my company has also been on multiple local radio stations, the big ones in Atlanta. I guess approximately 5, 6 or so through the years. But what, to answer your question, what has changed? Really, I think one of the biggest things that people say is, hey, that psychology is 80% of success, where my personal humble opinion is I believe that that's incorrect. I believe that it's close to 100%, that it starts out with your own psychology, your own thinking, your own perspective, the way that you perceive things. And, as Jim Rohn says, or said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're absolutely right.
Right.
And the way I used to think years ago is completely different than the way I think now, because I have two words that I removed from my dictionary, and one of them is a horrible 4-letter word, and it starts with a C and it ends with a T. And it's can't. The word can't is a word that isn't even allowed in our house, in my household. It's I slipped up and said it. I was at an art museum. I'm from Atlanta originally. I live in Miami Beach now. I was invited to a VIP art show party slash event in South Beach here, and it slipped up, and I said that to one of the artists, the word can't, and I was like, oh, I just said that word, and I don't say that word, so it slipped up, but I said it. But the other word is impossible. Because, I grew up, you and I talked before hopping on here. I grew born and raised in Atlanta, and I have been homeless. I've lived in my car. I was kicked out of my home when I was 17 years old, and to my own doing. I wasn't. Some of that was, as Jay Abraham, my mentor, says, 98% of the things that happen to you in life is, really comes down to things that you've done that changed what happens. The other 2% or are acts of God, that us as humans that we can't control. So, a lot of things that I've done in life, I try to hold myself accountable, to that 98% of things that I've done that, can and does control the outcome. But anyway, getting back, I didn't have, I know other people had it tougher than I've had it, but I believe that as a pendulum swings one way towards adversity, it swings back the other way towards resilience. So, as you probably had, as probably others listening or watching this, when you start to, especially when you start to do and attempt big things,
right?
The haters come out of the woodwork, the people, and sometimes they're not haters. Sometimes they're your family members and they're your friends that say, hey, they try to protect you and they're looking after you, but say, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that. And that was a lot that happened to me when I first got into 100% commission sales back in 1999. I'm an introvert by nature. I was very introverted growing up, very quiet growing up. Didn't have many friends, just being honest. I mean, it just is what it is. And I knew once I got into 100% commission sales that I needed to tap into that extrovert within me. And I did. But there were many people that said, hey, you don't have the gift of gab, which I found out later on that true closers and master closers, they listen, they ask questions and listen and allow people to buy versus trying to sell them something. So really, like, truly masterful salespeople, they don't gab and run their mouth a lot. They ask strategic questions and they listen and they look for the problems and they simply find the solution within the problem.
And that's what makes things, great when you learn that aspect of selling or really just living, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all heard it. You got 2 ears, you got 1 mouth. Listen twice as much.
That's one of my favorites.
Speak, right? Yeah, exactly.
I don't think everybody has heard of that though, and I think you and I can get because you and I have both been around in a good way for a long time. That I think you and I and others, have the experience and have the knowledge. We owe it to the next generation who has not heard.
Absolutely. And I wanted to touch on something that you said there about what we say to ourselves, or more importantly, what we don't in a lot of cases, right? The most intimate and influential message we will ever receive in our life comes from what we say to ourselves. I mean, you can't get any more intimate than what you say to yourself, because that's your inner thoughts. I tell people, look, you can lie to me, but you can never lie to yourself. You can try, but you always know you, right? You know when you're trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes, or if you're trying to mislead yourself, because that happens all the time. But that is the most intimate and most influential message you will ever receive. It's the things that you say to yourself. It's the words that you allow to not just come out of your mouth, but to live in your brain, your thoughts. And it's in there that the challenge begins. It's right there. So in conquering that, your mind, that's where, to me, success begins. And success isn't necessarily about a dollar, right?
Oh, amen.
We measure it very, very differently. For some of us, there's people that are like, look, I just want to, make $4,000 or $5,000 a month and be happy and have time and do this. And to be honest with you, depending on where you live in the country, $4,000 or $5,000 a month, you can live a decent existence, a pretty good, comfortable lifestyle. So, but then of course there's others on the other end of the spectrum that want to make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 a month and more, because they play a different game,
Yeah.
And I know that you've met extremely wealthy people. You've been around extremely wealthy people where it's not that money isn't an object. Money is a byproduct of what they actually enjoy doing.
Yeah. Money gives you freedom
Right.
to do what you want, when you want, how you want, where you want, with whom you want, if I haven't mentioned that one yet. But I agree 1,000% with you. And it's even in the book. There is a chapter called The 4 Steps to Greatness. And there's only 4 steps. There's not 100 steps. There's 4 steps to greatness. And, I agree with you that it starts out with how you think. And there is no finish line, not to sound like David Goggins, which, I do listen to a lot of David Goggins because I love and appreciate his mindset. I was listening to him yesterday walking back from the gym.
Yeah.
I spent, and there's no finish line. I spent in the past 2 years approximately $50,000 to $60,000 programming my mind to win with, that's one of my mentors, one of my multiple mentors, a guy named Michael Burnoff, based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. He's one of the best in the world on human communication, your own internal human communication, human psychology, human behavior, to get what you demand out of life. And tagging on to what you were saying there, and I believe it was Zig Ziglar that came up with the wheel of life. And in the wheel of life, there's 8 spokes in the wheel. There's only 2 that are business and finance. The other ones, love, spirituality, relationships, family, etc. And Tony Robbins, I've done a lot of Tony's programs. It was either Business Mastery or Unleash the Power Within. Tony says that the ultimate, what does he say? I'm having a brain fart now. But the ultimate, how's it go? The ultimate failure, something, darn it, now I'm losing it. But I say it all the time.
He says so many.
Success is the ultimate, a lack of fulfillment, basically in a nutshell, living an unfulfilled life is not success, it's a failure. There's another way that he, and it's not coming to me right now, but in a nutshell, that's what it is, hey, if your life is falling apart, if you're going through a divorce, kids can't stand you because you're never at home and you're never present when you are there, and, you're not close spirituality wise, but you're making, hey, I made $1 million or $50 million last year, whatever the number is, and everything else is falling down around you. That's not success, that's failure.
But that's true. I mean, ultimately, your life is going to wind up being one of 2 things, what you make it or what you allow it to become. And it's your choice, right? It's all these individual choices that one can make all the time. And you and I have been involved in real estate now for a good number of years, right? I've been in 20, you've been in 20 plus. And we have seen all kind of people come and go. We've seen people, shoot up like a rocket and crash just as fast. We've seen people that are on the slow and steady incline. I mean, we've seen it all. And in your opinion, what is it that, from the people that you've worked with, from the people that you've coached and trained, and dealt with for, however short or long, what is the consistent that you see from the people that succeed and maintain success? Not that they don't have pitfalls, but they maintain success. What is it that you see?
Consistency, discipline, humility, humble, smart. And I don't need, thank goodness, I'm not necessarily talking about IQ or I would be in trouble or book smarts, but, really common sense smarts and longevity. I think it comes down to core values. And I am by far, I'm not a perfect person. I make mistakes just like everyone else, and I'm not trying to portray like I am perfect. Make mistakes all the time, still make them, but even in a business setting, I do always attempt to do business like my grandfather would do business back in the days, and even with people that I train, people that I coach, because it's what I've done in our business through the years is implementing core values, and core values are what you hire people by and what you fire by. And one of my favorite books and favorite companies, period, that I love to model is Disney. I've always loved Walt Disney and always loved Walt Disney's story. The book that I'm speaking of is Be Our Guest by Disney. And it says a little piece in there that, hey, how does Disney always hire why is there everybody always so friendly that works for Disney at like Disney World? It's not because they make the unhappy happy. It's because they hire people that are friendly, people that are happy, people that do want to help others. So I think
their culture. It's their corporate culture. Yeah. It's their corporate culture, which obviously, we know that. When we talk about corporate culture, you look at these big companies, big and small companies, right? And we saw a shift in corporate culture when the disruptors really started to take over, specifically talking about, internet companies. These disruptors came in and created this completely different, completely new kind of work environment culture that made the traditional, brick and mortar companies seem just archaic, just old. The water cooler conversation was different at these new companies. Not just the conversation, but the water cooler itself. The water cooler is now a Starbucks that's in the building, right? And but just everything began to change, and through that change, that I think that we've really seen over the past 20 years. It's really become quite prevalent over the past 20 years. Since the dot-com crash, the dot-com bubble burst, coming out of that, the culture in those companies really changed and forced that model down the throats of what I would call your standard, your IBMs and all of those companies. They had to change the way they thought, the way they hired, the personality of the people that they were hiring. And we're seeing that again today, coming out of COVID. We're seeing a new culture arise, whether we like it or not. There's a lot of different opinions there, right? But it's changing. It's changed, and it's not going to go back to what it was. It's just not going to go back there. It's just not. And so we have to adapt our strategies, our conversation, the way we communicate across the board. And when you're coaching, what is one of the focuses on maybe not just your coaching, but your training overall, whether it's for your coaching for real estate investors, your training for agents, or your internal employee trainings? What is the kind of a focus that you have other than the mindset, which I know is important?
I have three of them. Three of my primary focuses. And my three focuses, and I guess I'll very quickly say, what do I not train on? I don't train on contracts and how to do this and that. I don't train on how getting your real estate license and CE classes. Ultimately, my wheelhouse is training folks on how to be successful and make income in real estate, which when you just, as Albert Einstein said, any fool can make things complex, but it takes a genius to make things simple. So really, what do I train? What's the top three things that any business leader, the top three highest dollar producing activities that any business leader, whether you're an investor, whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're a real estate team leader, whether you own a coffee shop. Number one, strategy. It all starts out with strategy. Number two, marketing. Number three, innovation and differentiation. So I'll circle back really quickly to one. And I even asked Jay Abraham, which is known as one of the best business strategists and marketers to ever walk the planet. I asked him in a one-on-one private consult, which he's really expensive. He's $120,000 just for 8 hours for a consult. I couldn't afford the whole day, so I got a half a day, balling on a budget. But I asked him this question. The question was, who wins? Does the strategist win or does the marketer win? He thought of that for a second and he said, strategist wins. Because and I'm paraphrasing some of this stuff, but the strategist is going to have the strategic marketing plan with the strategic marketing budget that's going to tie into the overarching strategy that wins. So the strategist wins. But in a nutshell, what are my three wheelhouses? It's those three things. And going to number two, which is marketing. If any business owner, no matter, again, the coffee shop owner, the investor, the real estate agent, the real estate team leader, if you are, that is the one skill set that you should always keep working, get better at, because if you don't learn how to crack the code to constantly bring in a stream of new clients into your business, not only that stream to bring the new clients in, but if you don't have systems in place that create lifelong clients, in my humble opinion, because it's even in the book, and I can't remember exactly the number, but the cost to acquire a new client versus go back to an old client, have a prior client do business with you again, it's something like 7 times cheaper or more.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even in our online aspect, right? Forget the brick and mortar stuff for a second, just giving you kind of my numbers. We run these campaigns called Evergreen Campaigns, right? And we just run them just year round. And there's probably, 2 or 3 running at any given time. But the cost, depending on what it is we're marketing, the cost, for instance, in order for me to sell a book online that I just basically give away, I only charge for shipping and handling. It's going to cost me a little over $100 to quote unquote sell that book, right? But when that person that bought that book online, they're going to now be in a sales funnel, if you will. We call them pipelines. And we're getting about a 5%, 4 to 5% conversion of the people that swipe the card, right? And of those people, they're buying on average they're spending just under $1,000, right? But at that point, it costs us no more. So our client acquisition was about $106 or $107 a person. Now we've run campaigns that were a little more specific, where client acquisition for a higher ticket item would be, in the $300 range. I think it was $340 per person that entered the funnel, not that that person would even buy, right? So it's understanding the numbers inside the numbers, especially,
it's knowing. It starts out with knowing the numbers, and I want to applaud you because, and it's in the book. And within the book, there's one chapter that is marketing mistakes that cost huge profits. And there's 29 marketing mistakes in there. And one of those is not tracking, measuring and reporting. And I'm paraphrasing, not knowing your numbers, long story short. So I applaud you that you know your numbers where most do not.
Yeah, they don't really.
And that's most entrepreneurs, period.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I'm not knocking you. I'm just I'm trying to give shift your paradigm that if you're not doing it, it's like having it's like flying an airplane with no instruments, no gauges. It's just a matter of time until you fly it into a mountain.
I couldn't agree more. And even on that note, I encourage people to partner up with their opposite, or hire, if they're in a position to hire, the people that are stronger where they're weak. Because in our business, we have a tendency to run into a ton of visionaries. Everybody wants to do this. They want to do that. They have these big plans. They're visionaries, but their follow-up game is in the toilet, right? They're the visionary, but they don't have a builder. You have to have a builder. And your builder can know the numbers, and you can be familiar with the numbers and know how to go with that. But if you're the visionary is the one that comes up with the ideas, right? They're not necessarily working the business. I mean, they're working the business, but from a different angle. The builder is the one that's like, okay, this is what we got to do. Here's where we got to, and generally the builder is the worrywart, right?
A friend of mine named Ryan Dice, which he's known as one of the best internet marketers in the world. I'm in a high-level mastermind, and he's one of the founders of that mastermind. And he said something that shifted my paradigm on that, I guess about a year, 2 years ago. It was a talk to the mastermind group just on that, is that part of that talk was that visionaries, which Ryan is, which I am, and you probably are too, if I'm hearing you right, and I think I am, that visionaries, they take it 80% of the way. But then what about the other 20% that takes it to the finish line? So I agree with you 1,000. And I'm like that. I know I'm like that. But the first step is awareness, having that builder.
That's right.
That helps you take it to the finish line, that other 20% on all your projects.
Yeah, because that's the most important thing, and us as visionaries. It's not that we're like, I'm done with that now. It's just we can only go so far. And as long as
Disney. Was Walt Disney a visionary? Absolutely. But his brother Roy
was the builder.
Yeah,
he was the builder. He's the guy behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
And you need that. I don't care what kind of business you have. I don't care if it's an online business or a brick and mortar business, or whatever it is you're doing. I mean, you've got to put those people in place. You've got to recognize what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. I mean, for so long, we've been taught to get better. You got to get better at this thing that you're not so good at. But then we get into business and we realize, I don't have time to go get better at that. It's easier for me to bring someone in who's already good at that, because we've got this machine going, right?
Stay in your highest and best.
Exactly.
Stay in your lane.
Exactly. And it's not a matter of, because a lot of people will confuse this, Jason. They'll confuse what I'm saying right now with don't get better, just stay where you are. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, personal development, get better at the things that you're good at, and get better at the things that you want to be better at. We all want to be better people, better thinkers, higher achievers. We want to manage time better. We all want to do that. But guess what? If I'm not good at internet marketing, and you and I know how difficult that space is. If I'm not good at it, I'm going to hire someone.
Yeah, I'm hiring somebody. I'm not a data coder, and I don't do graphic designs, and I don't do that. I mean, I love writing ad copy, and
Right.
that's what I do, and I'm very good at it. Not toot my horn, just am very good at it. But you know, and I think what you are saying, and I like to use examples that may help it sink in better, a little bit deeper for people. And I like to use the example of Richard Branson. Richard Branson, you know, his mentality is, hey, I don't want to be the smartest one within my organization.
Right.
I want to surround myself with people that are smarter than I am, that can do specific tasks in my company. So and he don't actually say this part, but he's saying it without saying it, pretty much so he can stay in the role of doing what he is great at, which is being a visionary of a company. And he's I listened to Richard speak on stage. He was about, and I was in the front row. He was about 10 foot away from me. And there's a lot of takeaways that you can learn from people like that. And, you know, that Virgin Records actually, you know, what launched that company exponentially was free publicity stunts that Richard Branson was doing when he had no money.
He's still good at that.
Oh, very.
He's still good at
that. Magnificent. Probably one of the best that's ever walked the planet.
That's right.
On that.
But you know, but even with that, you know, even with what you're saying here, and I literally had this conversation with, well, I didn't have the conversation. I did a podcast that was partly about this last week. You know, it aired last week, and that was basically, and you'll know this, you are the mean of the 5 closest people to you, the 5 people you spend the majority of your time around. So in my organization, for instance, I'm the top dog in my organization. I'm the one that everybody looks to for answers, you know, for direction. And I'm that guy, okay? And I know that I'm that guy, and we all have to be that guy. You're that guy in your business, right? To a certain extent. But you're not feeding yourself. And that's why you invest in yourself and you put yourself in these masterminds, and you're hanging out with multi-millionaires and billionaires, because in that circle, you're the low man on the totem pole. But by the same measure, you're getting information and opportunity that you wouldn't have gotten had you not put yourself in that place.
And I don't mean this as braggy, but it was pretty cool for me. Again, I have a high school education and I lived in my car. I was homeless. But you know, even this past week, who was I hanging out with for like 4 days? Who took me to the VIP parties of Art Week, which was mainly, you know, a lot of great connections that I made at those parties. It wasn't, you know, I didn't even drink much at them, but there were venture capitalists from Silicon Valley. The claim that they're the number one group. Part of the number one group out of San Francisco and Silicon Valley. So pretty powerful people, and which was, I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. I have a high school education, and, you know, and these guys respect my opinion, and, you know, and honestly, you know, they want to do some business with me in the future, which I thought was cool.
And that's what I mean. Listen, you're talking, the art thing you're talking about is Art Basel, right?
Yes.
You know, so I mean, it is every year. It's they do it in Miami, but it's, I think, 4 times a year around the world, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that is, I mean, you don't even have to like art to want to be in something like that. I didn't know the
magnitude of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Until all these people started pouring into town, I was like, what in the hell is going on here? Like, and it was a wonderful crowd. I mean, a lot of great people there. But yeah, it was really cool.
Art Basel's fantastic. But just kind of going back a little bit, you know, in my coaching business, I interview folks, and I do that to see where they are, but also to set the bar, you know, to set the level of expectation. My coaching and training is more about action than just information. So you're going to do it while you're learning it, because that's the best way to learn. Like I can't give you a book on how to ride a bike, tell you to read the book and you're going to know it. No, it's not how it works, right? So
no,
I'm an action taker. So you're going to learn as you do. You're going to do as you learn, and it's just cycle that keeps going. But one of the questions I ask in the interview process is, are you interested in information or are you interested in transformation? Because those are two very different things.
That's wonderful, brother. I love that.
Thank you.
I may borrow that.
Oh, please do.
I probably will.
But
yeah, I love that.
That's a real thing.
It's a fact.
Because how many people come to you and say, I just want to get some information from you?
The book. I wrote this book intentionally. Of the 15 chapters, 13 of the chapters have massive action assignments after them. In the book, even with the book, I put a 200% money back guarantee that if you read the book, not only read the book, you take the actions, and if you don't get results, I'll give you 200% money back. I was on a podcast with Jay Abraham, the ultimate entrepreneur. It just released, I think, a week or two ago. But that's what, it's about taking action. The book's about taking action. It doesn't do any good if you just read any book, including mine. So I did construct the book for massive action takers, put the 200% guarantee. But I said on that podcast, really, I'd give a 5,000% money back guarantee that if, hey, you put the work in, you do all those action assignments. And if you don't get the results for real, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way that you will not get not only results, but that you won't get massive results and not only have mental breakthroughs. And my primary space is honestly high performing real estate agents and team leaders. I don't work as much with investors, even though a lot of the things that I utilize are
investor strategies.
Universal.
Yeah.
Obviously, the book, an investor will get takeaways from the book, I have no doubt.
Because I mean, what's the difference really, right? We're talking about, strategies. These strategies that agents have to use, investors are using all day, every day. The marketing strategies, the marketing techniques, the conversation is slightly different, right?
Yeah.
Slightly different, but it's not a world away from each other. It's just a matter of a different level of understanding. And for those people that can put that together, the training is the same.
Here's the deal.
Yeah.
My shifting has shifted a lot. And yes, I've always believed in optimization, but more and more clear that I get on optimization. Again, there is no finish line with optimization, just like even that one chapter with the 29 marketing mistakes in there. Did you know that me and you, per optimization, are making every single one of those marketing mistakes? Now, we still may be doing great.
Right.
Maybe, but in the world of optimization, there's always more room to do things better.
And just streamline processes all the way through. I mean, that's why we educate ourselves consistently, for the processes, the adaptations, things that we're maybe not aware of, or things that, we might be aware of, but we put them back here somewhere, and they're just not a part of our thinking because we got out of it. I mean, how many people have you spoken to where they were having this problem, and you look at it and you be like, well, there it is right there, because they're too close to it. They can't see it, and then you pick it out or put it back in or whatever the scenario calls for. And they look at you like you're Jesus reincarnated, right? Because you're looking at it from a bird's eye view. You're not as close to it as they are.
And through experience.
Absolutely.
I've been there. Absolutely. There is a shortcut to success. People say, hey, there's not shortcuts. You got to take the long way. It's a fallacy for one. And it's even in the book that is a fallacy that you have to, that you have to take every step. No, you can actually skip over steps.
Explain that process.
Do so
briefly.
Mentorship.
Yes.
Someone that's already been there, already done it. Someone that's had those super extremely costly mistakes of doing shit the wrong way. Excuse my language. Yes, there is a shortcut, and it's through a great mentorship, which I know that you provide.
And really, that's the only shortcut there is. Because I tell people that all the time. You know, we look online and they're selling a magic bullet to success around every corner, around every, at every click. There's, the secret to this, and there is no secret. There's only the work, and the only shortcut is having a mentor, having a great coach, great mentor, because you get to lean on their experiences and their failures.
I wasn't saying to skip over all steps. I was saying that, just like you thankfully reframed for me, that yes, there is one shortcut to success, and it's from having a great mentor. And it isn't, and excuse me for keep shamelessly plugging back to my book, but it's in there, the 4 steps of greatness. It gets into that pretty deep in step number 4.
And that's exactly what we want. So we've got to get ready to close this out, but tell our listeners where they can get the book and how they can reach out to you. Now, I am going to make sure you guys understand that in the description, there will be contact information there for Jason. So, but I want you to hear it right now as we're talking, but it will be in the description. If you want to get the book, just go into the description. I'll make sure the link is there. If you want to reach out to Jason, the link will be right there, so you can set up a strategy call with him and start to plan your next moves with him. And how would they do that, Jason?
Just quite simply, the book is called The Ultimate Real Estate Machine by Jay Abraham and Jason Williford. You can go to Amazon to find the book. The book was wrote to be on not just read one time, but read multiple times per year. It's designed to be on the bookshelf. And when you have a business problem and need to figure it out, take it off the bookshelf. So I do recommend not just getting like a Kindle version, but getting it at least a paper book, if not the hardback. Amazon is where you go to find the book. We're currently giving over $1,200 worth of bonuses away with the book on platinumrealestatecoaching.com. So if you go there, you can go there and it links to Amazon. Then you put the receipt number in, and there's over 1,200 gifts in there for buying the book. Some of it is my TV show, Agents on Fire, that will be released either late February, March, somewhere around then.
And you're shooting that with Kevin Harrington, right?
Yeah, episode 1 was Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. He was the inventor of the infomercial, founder of Home Shopping Network, As Seen on TV brand. He's generated over $6.4 billion worth of revenue through his companies through the years. Episode 2, Jay Abraham's going to be on. I'm bringing other of my mentors on other episodes. But one thing I do want to give clarity about is my platinumrealestatecoaching.com. It currently has my book site there. By the first of the year 2022, all of the website will be completely done and revamped, and it'll have everything on for me there. You can also go to jasonwilliford360.com, which is actually a really cool site for you too, Jason. I love your name, by the way. But anybody listening, I just like to give credit where credit's due. And my 360 site, when you go to jasonwilliford360.com, you can see that everything lives within that site. It has any website that you have is on there. It has all of my social media contacts on there. It has set an appointment with me on there if you'd like. It has my book where you can go there. It has everything that lives in that. And if you look at the bottom of that page, if you're looking at mobile, my360.com. You can get your own site on there. And it's only like $80 a month. And it's like super easy to upload all this information to. Like, I am not the most technological person, but I was able to do it myself in about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. So I do recommend that site, but that is probably the easiest way to find me and do, have videos in there, products I have. So
I'll make sure.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I'll make sure those
you
links
having
are
me
in
on.
there. Oh, absolutely,
Thank you so
man.
much.
Thank you.
I have fun.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes,
and again, I'll make sure those contacts, that contact information is in the description, guys. So make sure you reach out to them, and go get that book. Go get that book. I'll put the Amazon link in there as well. So you got and make it easy for you, right? So you go to the website, you can connect with them on social media, you can buy the book and get the receipt, like he said, and plug in that information and get those $1,200 in bonuses. Because hey, people aren't throwing money at you all the time, guys, let alone great information. So
yes, sir.
Again, Jason, thank you so much for being here. And you guys, as always, I really appreciate you. If you're listening to this on whatever podcast platform you're listening, that's great. If you want to see what Jason looks like, go ahead, go to the YouTube channel. The link is there as well.
Don't let this face freak you out.
And let's get to it, guys. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.